Price reductions. They're the things that you need to get, but the things that you're afraid to ask for. One of the really important things to think as a great real estate agent is that you actually have a role to be the trusted advisor for your client. And ultimately, if you list a property well, it sells well. But what do you do when a market changes? Well, the question is, does it actually change that quickly? Or did you as an agent not keep up to date with what's currently happening in the market at any one point in time? In every negotiation, there is something that what we call the bargaining power. Let's say, for example, that a property went to auction. It didn't sell and it's been on the market for another 4 weeks post the auction itself. So we're now at our 8th weekend of open for inspections. You're at the open, no one's coming through, there's no buyer demand, and the phone has stopped ringing with people wanting to inquire about the home. All of a sudden, a buyer turns up and says, hey, you know what, I like this, I'd like to buy it. What's your negotiation leverage? Well, it's pretty low because you've got no other buyers and there's also multiple homes available in the price range when you go and have a look online. So what do you now do? Well, the interesting conversation is that you start working with the buyer. And as you're working with that buyer, you realize that they're actually flying back to London tomorrow night to go and get their final effects before they bring them back to Australia to be moving home. And you know that they need to buy a property before they fly it to London tomorrow night. What just happened to your negotiation power? It significantly shifted because now you know that this buyer has extreme urgency to actually bring a deal together in a very short period of time before they get back on that plane and fly to London. So here's the most important part. This is actually what price reductions is all about because it's understanding the leverage that you've got for your owner at any one point in time. And when that leverage is completely evaporated, then having a conversation with the owner about what you need to do in order to position the property. So what you need to do is go and have a look at all of the available properties online that consumers are actually considering. Bring together that new evidence and then go and have a conversation with your owner. You see, there's no point going week to week without making a change. The reality of it is that if today's consumer thought that it was $5,000, $10,000 or $20,000, then they would actually come forward and make an offer. The reality is that what we're really talking about is maybe $50,000, $100,000 or $200,000, depending on the price points that you deal in. What's important is to know that the owner already knows that they need to make a change, but it's what you do as an agent that makes a difference as to whether or not they will. You see, you can't just ring up and say, hey, let's have a price reduction. You actually need to do all of the things leading up to that point to allow that owner to justify that a price reduction is actually required. And usually that means getting an offer on a property so then you can go and show people that they've actually got buyers through who've made an offer on the home at a particular price point. At the end of the day, no offer, no decision. So what would I do if I needed to get a price reduction today? Number one, I'd be on the phone and I'd speak with my owners every single business day. I'd be talking to them about 2 things. 1, new properties that have come to market, and 2, properties that have actually just been sold. Now this needs to be happening throughout the course of the campaign. Every single time a property sells, it takes another buyer out of the buying pool, which means that effectively it reduces the buyer demand. Now that's not overall true because when the seller sells, they now become a buyer, but most likely in a different price point. So this is an important part. The next one I'd then be doing is I'd then be having a conversation with them about expectations on the number of people that we should be getting through the property, whether or not that's in inquiries or whether or not it's physical inspections at open homes or private appointments. I would then try to book a number of private appointments at the property so then we could get some real buyers through the home and see if we can get them to give us an indicative offer. I want them to give me specific properties that they're actually looking at compared to this one that they believe are better value. I'll then also invite my owner to potentially some other open for inspections or maybe some auctions of properties of a similar type in and around theirs. And every single time that we make a sale, confirm with them whether or not one of the buyers that had walked through their home has actually gone and bought elsewhere. This is really a face-to-face conversation, and what you must understand is that when you actually reduce a price, you're effectively starting to say no to them being able to achieve their objectives around what they want to go and buy. But here's the thing, have they actually thought about the home that they want to buy and whether or not it's actually changed in price as well? So let's say, for example, that you're dealing somewhere around the $1 million range. And your owner really wants to get their million because they have an expectation because they want to buy their property for 1.3. Well, maybe theirs has now slipped back to 900, but the one that's at 1.3, maybe that's slipped back to 118 or 119 or even 1.2. And so from that point of view, the changeover costs are actually less given those particular circumstances. So it's really important to focus on changeover costs and remember that ultimately there is a green light, orange light and red light. Red, they won't be able to move given that price point. Orange, they might be able to, and green, they definitely can. So don't take people's dreams, be a dream maker, but explain to them how we're going to do it given the new market circumstances. I really hope that you've enjoyed this week's coaching tip, and I look forward to seeing you next week.